Welcome back to this week's episode of Just Believe podcast. If you haven't already, go ahead and click that subscribe button to continue journeying with us as we share stories to encourage and inspire. Today's special guest is Lindsay-Rae Powell. Enjoy.
Hi, my name is Lindsay-Rae Powell and welcome to my TED Talk. Just kidding. I am a media professional. I love film and storytelling, but I really just consider myself a girl who loves the Lord and is on a pursuit to love Him more and more. Just a friend of God living in love. So my testimony is about faith journeys that you don't know the details about, but the Lord has invited you into something unknown and something uncertain, and you just have to trust that He knows. He's a good leader. You just trust that he's aware of the end. He really is who he says he is. And I remember when I was about 21, I had just finished college, fresh out of college, fresh with a bachelor's degree, wondering what's next. And having followed up the years before of just this longing and this ache to know God more and to want to be, His friend, wanting to be more involved in who He was, what He was like, what His character was like. There's just this ache of I need to do something that brings me closer to Him. And also from a rough season of just like friendships and all the different things. And so after college, I had this desire to go away and do an internship at the International House of Prayer and just sit before the Lord and let Him wash over me who He is and who I am before Him. And that's when my faith journey really began, because I had no money, I had no prospects, I had no anything. And this internship was $5,000 more US dollars. But I asked the Lord, I actually told the Lord, I didn't even ask him. I was like, Lord, I want to know you more. I feel you inviting me into this conversation of knowing you deeper. So I'm going to do this internship. You coming? And so it was just a faith step of, Lord, I want to do this. Help me get there. And so that's when my journey began. And I started to reach out to people and tell them what my heart is, what I want to do after college. And even my parents, and they're like, but you just graduated college. You can't just like work for us and then, think about doing this. But I was just like, no, I think this is the time. Now is the time to really just set some time apart after being so busy with ministry and school and all the different things that life can throw at you. I just wanted to sit before the Lord. And there were so many obstacles, one of them mainly being money. And so after even all my efforts, it was 2 weeks to the internship starting. I had done the application, I had been accepted and all these things, but still I had no money. And so I was completely discouraged, completely heartbroken, because I was just like, this is what I want, this is what I needed. And I didn't know what was the other plan, what was the alternative, because I couldn't even see myself working at this point because I was just so broken and needed to be before the Lord. But having discussed it with some of my leaders from a ministry that I'm involved in at Jamaica House of Prayer, they suggested that I just email them and tell them my situation and ask if there was any way that they would be able to give me a scholarship to go and help put on what I've already raised. And I needed like $3,000 US dollars. And I was just like, there's no way that that's gonna be the thing, because I know that they don't give scholarships to interns. You just have to raise the money, and if you don't, you just don't go. I kept that in my mind though, and I decided, you know what's worse than a try? Just ask them if they would, and if they don't, you can't say you didn't try. So I emailed them and asked them, hey, this is where I'm at. I've raised this amount and I need this amount still, and I was wondering if you guys have any scholarships for interns to be able to complete your course. And I waited in great anticipation for 2 days, and then I got an email with them telling me to fill out a form, explaining what is needed, and sending it back to them as soon as I could, because it was 2 weeks to the internship. I needed to be on a plane tomorrow. And so they said, you need to do this very quickly, and I did. And I sent the form to them, and they responded like in no time, saying that the amount that I've asked for has been approved, and that I was able to come to the internship and just pay what I had. And I couldn't believe. I was so excited. I was so filled with so much joy. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going. And it was so much more than my desire was met. It was like God saw. He saw this this desire to want to be with him. He saw me, he saw all the things that are happening in my life, and he just gave me, a gift. And I was so moved by that. And that was the beginning of just this journey that the Lord brought me into. So I went to the internship, and it was one of the best seasons. It was hard, but it was one of the best seasons because it was just coming into the knowledge of God deeper and deeper and deeper. And what brought me to the knowledge of God wasn't me just being in the Word of God and just like uncovering revelations of Him, which was true, which is what I did do, but it was understanding that He's a good Father. He really is a good Father, and He sees your every desire, your every longing, your every thought that you never communicated to Him. And it's like He wants to enter into that conversation with you and meet with you. And that's the revelation of God that I got that made me even want to know Him more and talk about the mysteries and talk about the different things. And just one of those moments was when I was closing off the internship, and I was like, yes, I got what I needed. It's time to go home. The Lord was just like, you thought this was your idea? This was actually my idea. Remember that conversation we had when you were young, and I told you that I wanted you to say yes to media as a career. And I was just like, yeah, I remember that conversation, but we spoke about that. That's not gonna happen. Like, media schools are so expensive, and I just don't see it happening for just a Jamaican girl like me. But the Lord was just like, no, I meant what I invited you into. I want you to really consider this as a career path that you could be a part of. I've never done anything technical with cameras. I've never done anything technical with sound, audio, nothing. I was so inept when it came to media, anything. So just the idea of that being a part of my assignment on the earth, it was just too impossible to believe. And so now the Lord is inviting me to believe something even more impossible. And I was just like, okay, we'll see. So the school that I went to for the internship, they had a media school that was 2 years. And the Lord is just like, I want you to apply for this school, and I want you to say yes to going on this journey with me. And I was just like, okay, sure, definitely, let's do this. But again, the issue is I have no money. This school is like 10,000 plus US dollars. There's no way that my mother is going to allow me to take 2 years to do this crazy walk with you, because I agreed only 6 months for the internship, and then we're home and we go to work. And the Lord is just like, just say yes and I'll figure everything else out. And I think for me, just seeing how He provided in the season before, and how He saw and made a way, and He did all the hard work, I was just like, okay, I have to say yes, because He's inviting me to something, and He's been faithful before. So why wouldn't He be faithful now? And so I said yes. I got $2,000 off my tuition immediately. I called my mother, and she was just like, anything you wanted, I will support you. And I was just like, who is this woman? This is not the same woman that set me off and said, go have 6 months and come back. And she was just so supportive of just like, yes, you can do this, follow this dream of your heart. And I spoke to my father, and he did the same thing. He said, yeah, we'll figure it out. If this is what you want to do, we'll figure out the money. And I just couldn't believe that I was actually going to this media school to pursue a dream of my heart that I thought was impossible. And so I went to the school, and it was a hard road to get there financially. Because I think one thing about faith journeys is when God says, this is what you're going to do, we think we say yes, and it's going to be like easy. Every open door is just going to follow through. It's going to be a domino effect. Everything's just going to be easy, cheesy. You're just going to walk into your purpose, and it's just going to be a flyby. But that was not the case. I went to media school, and I didn't know how my rent was going to be paid. I didn't know where I was going to get food from. I didn't know how my tuition was going to be paid, even though the Lord told me yes, and He made a way, and I was able to apply, and I was being approved. My student visa was approved. Every door was open for me to go. But once I got there, it remained a hard yes to keep. I had to keep saying yes. Okay, Lord, I remember this is what you said. The yes was constantly being tested. I trust you. You're faithful. You're a good Father. I've seen you provide. I've seen you meet every need, every desire. And I was constantly being tested. And so every month I was just confused, because I was just like, Lord, but I thought you said that this is what you want me to do. And it feels like any moment now I'm going to be on the streets, and they're going to deport me back home because I couldn't pay my tuition. And I don't know why, but God really likes to wait till the last minute to come through and show himself as the God who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think or imagine. And that was what happened on this journey of mine. Every month my rent was paid. Even though I didn't know how the money came, it came. Every month I had food to eat. How? I don't know. Someone would come to me and be like, hey, I think I want to buy you groceries this month. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And then my tuition, I remember one time they had messaged me and they said, you need to come in because you have a tuition payment that has been outstanding for a couple weeks now, and we need you to pay this amount or we will have to withdraw you from classes and send you home. And I was so broken. I was just in the prayer room weeping before the Lord. Like, I thought you said I'm going home. There's no way I can pay this amount of money in 1 week. I need your help. And I actually got very, very angry because I was just like, Lord, this is not who you said you were. And I'm very discouraged that I said yes to this leader who will lead me into a ditch, into a place that is not safe or not good. And I don't see your goodness in this. And as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I just felt like something shifted. And the Lord was just like, I see you and I'm going to provide. The next day, I got $500 from one of my persons that had committed, but she had only committed to like $150. And then I got another $500 from my church. And then I got another $500 from my father. And in the span of a week, I was able to pay off the $1,500 that was needed to stay. I didn't say anything to anyone. I didn't say anything to my father. I didn't say anything to my partners. I didn't say anything to my friends that this is what I needed or I was coming home. It just happened. I spoke to the Lord and it just happened. And things like that consistently happened while I was at school. It was just every day the Lord was asking me, do you believe that I am who I say I am? Do you agree that this is what I want for you, that I'm good, that my plans for you are good, that my ways are good even though they don't feel good in the moment, and that my leadership is good? And every month after month, as hard as it was, I had to reassess my yes and be like, yes, Lord, I believe you've brought me on this faith journey. It is not what I expected to look like, but you're a good leader. And even in the valleys, you lead us in that moment. You are the one that lead us through the valley of shadow of death. Your leadership, your good leadership brings us here. And it's good because you are with us and that you have never left us and you will never leave us and never forsake us. And he never left me. He never forsake me or left me to figure out things on my own. I was just weak. Every month I was just weak. My faith was weak. My yes was weak. But I gave it to him. And I was just like, Lord, you said that this is the journey that you want me to come on. I'm stepping out on the waters. I'm stepping out in faith. Feel like I'm drowning. But I know that you won't let me drown. I know that you won't let me fail. I know that you won't fail. And so, Lord, do what you said you would do. And that has been, I think that season of my life showed me so intensely, more than anything, that God is a good leader. Like, he is trustworthy. He can call me to the Middle East tomorrow because I've seen his hand and his faithfulness and his goodness time and time again. Even when I couldn't see the beginning from the end, even when I couldn't see my yes from my no, I saw that God's goodness was real. And it's that scripture that says, I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. I would have lost heart if I had not believed in his goodness. And so faith journeys are hard. You can't see the end. Sometimes you only get one step in front of you. Sometimes you only get the next detail. You don't get the big picture. God is just asking you to trust him and blindly trust that he knows what he's doing. And that's hard, especially for a control freak like me. But I really, really feel like because of that season, God can ask of me anything. I mean, it doesn't get easier. The yeses are still hard. But I know this thing. I know this one thing, that he is good. His leadership is perfect. And even when it looks like a valley of a shadow of death, he is with you. He will never leave you. He'll never forsake you. And he'll provide everything that you need. He'll provide the shoes that you need, the food that you need, the tuition that you need, the rent that you need. He's a good, good, good father that sees the desires of your heart, sees your purpose, your goodness, that sees the things that he's called you to, and he will provide a way for you to accomplish them. It's just supposed to consistently be in the conversation of, Lord, I'm weak and I need you. I need you as a father. And he said, I will not leave you as an orphan. I will come to you as a father. And I've seen him. I've seen the good father time and time again provide, loving me, meeting me in my weakness, not condemning me, but showing me that you're good, you're safe, and you don't have anything to worry about.
You just heard the testimony of Lindsay-Rae Powell on the Just Believe podcast. Now, faith is the reality of what is hoped for, the proof of what is not seen. Hebrews 11:1.